If you're wondering where a large portion of your tax dollars are going in Massachusetts, I'm about to show you. You may also be wondering why things like there's potholes in all the roads here. You're probably wondering why the bridges here are in disrepair. You're also probably wondering why towns are so behind on the budget and they're barely able to scrape it through to pay their teachers, their staff, so on and so forth. Well, the reason is because we are spending billions upon billions upon billions of dollars on illegal immigration. That is what's happening, and I have the fiscal year 2025 report to prove it to you. I'm not going to go through the whole report, but I am going to show you what is happening and where your money is effectively going, because it is absolutely crazy. This was just released about 2 days ago, all right? And first of all, what I want to show you is this. It says the number of families applying for shelter in the previous 14 days, 533. Now, I will tell you, there's normally supposed to be a 50-50 split in the emergency shelter system. That split is between the residents of Massachusetts and people that decided to come here illegally. Apparently, based on an article, I think it was from GBH or one of those news stations, they released an article saying that 75% of the people that are now applying to the emergency shelter system are citizens of Massachusetts. So what that leads me to believe, if that's the case, there has been hundreds, if not thousands, of families that have resided in Massachusetts that need emergency shelter assistance that over the last few years have not received it. And they have not received it because seems as though that illegal immigrants are getting priority treatment. That's what I believe is happening here. So while this number, 533, may not necessarily reflect all of the, let's say, residents here in Massachusetts, I think a large portion of them is. And that is very concerning to me. Now, I'm going to show you something else. If you scroll down a little bit, you get to see how much money you are spending per week. Per week. The weekly average per family cost of emergency assistance shelter program. $2,932. Let's call it $3,000. $3,000 per week. That's $12,000 a month. That's $144,000 a year. And of course, this figure represents total expenses for the shelter system related costs, and it's divided by the number of families that are there. So you could figure things maybe perhaps like transportation, food, healthcare, whatever it may be. That is a large number. And that is a large number when you consider how many people are actually living in the shelters. Now, as of the end of March, there was a report that the shelter system is down to, I believe, 5,300 people. At a time, it was up to around 73 or 7,500 people, which was, more than capacity could handle. But that is, here we go, currently funded capacity of the EA program. So there's 5,800 people. So if you multiply $144,000 a year times 5,800, you get a whopping $835 million. Okay? That is quite a bit of money. Now, this is what they're anticipating. The projected fiscal year 2020. Remember, we're not done with the fiscal year quite yet. We still have a few months left of them sucking up your money. So their projection is $1.064 billion, which is up from last year, because last year, or I should say last fiscal year, I believe was around $1.01 billion. So this has gone up pretty substantially, and it can inflate even more. Now, I will show you another graph. Let me scroll down for you. This is very concerning to me, and I'm going to show you something else to explain why. So currently, there's been over $700 million that has been dumped into, let's say, these emergency shelter systems. Direct Shelter has attributed to $537 million thus far. Now, here's where this gets concerning, and I'm going to show you why. Look at what the line item is for number 2. It is Homebase. I have been talking a lot about Homebase, and I've received a lot of emails on Homebase. And if anybody of you are out there, and I know you are because I'm going to show you another chart, I need you to contact me. I need you to contact me and tell me what is happening in Homebase, okay? You take a look at Homebase. Homebase is up by $77 million this fiscal year, again, with a few months remaining. Now, of course, I did a little bit of investigative research here, and here is what I found. This is the Homebase projections of spending. And you could see one thing. Actually, let me get rid of my camera so you can see this a little bit better. So, first of all, wages and salaries. 2021, we had 13, almost 14 million. 22, 15 million. 23, 28, almost 29 million. Then we get to 2024. Look at the drop. This is the most major drop in a salary I think I have ever seen. It drops to 1.6 million, and for 2025, we're at about 1.8 million. Where the hell did all of the jobs go? Where did they go? Because what's happening now is, number one, if you look at the totals, especially for 2025, we are already $13 million above what it shows here for what the potential projection should have been for 2025. And there's still multiple months left to go. But what's most concerning to me are these numbers, which leads me to believe that there is people out there that probably lost their job at Homebase. I don't know if they got shuffled somewhere else or whatever it may be. But to go from $28 million all the way down to $1.5 million, that means they cut quite a bit of jobs to refunnel money back into both their operating expenses, which is down by a lot as well in 2025, but also their safety net. Okay, safety net is a loose term for whatever they want it to be. That is effectively what it is costing the taxpayer, in my opinion. And of course, the total sum is $57 million. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I think there are a lot of people out there that are, probably wondering to themselves, there are people that were in the emergency shelter program. The emergency shelter program is costing significantly more to the taxpayer, upwards of $3,000 a week. And what's happening is people are being shuffled from one hand to the other. They're going from the emergency shelter system into Homebase. Homebase is providing them with, let's say, permanent housing. Basically, it's a rental assistance. It's for apartments, so on and so forth. Now, I will tell you, and I'm just going to give you a little bit behind the scenes, I am working on a larger story with Homebase because I have multiple people that have contacted me that have friends, family, relatives, whatever it may be, that have been waiting and waiting and waiting to get permanent housing through Homebase that are not getting selected. And they have been on these lists for years. They have been on the lists for years. So what's happening is the state is, this is my opinion, the state is taking people out of the emergency shelter system. That's a fact. Fact number two, they are getting placed through Homebase, and Homebase probably sets them up with the case manager, and that case manager is finding them permanent housing. When that happens, that change of hand happens, the state is effectively saving money because it's not costing $3,000, at least I think they're saving money. It's not costing $3,000 per week per person or $12,000 a month. However, the problem with this is if you think of fair housing guidelines, all right, if landlords are being incentivized to take one subsection of people versus the other, that is a fair housing violation. So what I mean by that is, if you have a group of people here and a group of people here, but the group of people in this hand perhaps may be providing some levels of incentives to the landlord so that they get priority treatment, guess what's going to happen? They will effectively get that apartment. These people over here that perhaps don't have as many incentives, and incentives could mean many, many things. Think about it. If they don't have as many incentives to give to the landlord, they are not going to get that priority treatment. So what I think is happening is this. People are coming out of the emergency shelter, they're going into home base, and they're also simultaneously getting priority treatment over people that are or have been citizens in Massachusetts for a very long time. The catch-22 here, though, is that if the citizens, which GBH did a report on this, and it shows that the shelter system, the people applying are 75% of the residents of Massachusetts, probably they got displaced or couldn't get it in the first place over the last few years. What's going to happen is this. We're going to still incur the same level of costs because it's almost like the water faucet is on and they're kind of running their fingers through it to stop it, but the water is still going because simultaneously people are exiting the emergency shelter. Okay, let's say those are illegal immigrants that are getting priority treatment placement through home base, while the, let's say, citizens of Massachusetts are now re-signing up for the emergency shelter system because spaces are opening up. So I think what's going to happen is that the emergency shelter system, and you could clip this if you want, I think the emergency shelter system by this time next year is going to be at capacity again. But what's going to happen is there's going to be a role reversal here. The capacity is going to be due to a lot of people that are citizens of the state that have been homeless for a very, very long time and on these waiting lists. They're going to get shoved into the emergency shelter system. We're going to be paying for that. And meanwhile, we're still going to be paying enormous fees on the home base side. That's what's going to happen. And what's very, very concerning to me about this entirety of this of this whole entire debacle is that the costs keep on inflating and inflating and inflating. They keep on getting larger and larger and larger. So that leads me to believe that this is unsustainable, as I have said this before. I do not think this is a sustainable model, and I really think they need to think about what they are doing with the taxpayers' dollars. The reason I think they need to think this through is because there are a lot of taxpayers here that are upset. And why are they upset? They're upset because their towns are behind on budget. Their towns are not getting any support from the state itself. And instead, the support is going to people that have not come here legally. Okay? And the support is going to people that are effectively in a position that are getting priority treatment over the citizens of this state. So, two things are going to happen. Emergency shelter numbers are going to go up. I will guarantee you that. Number two, home base. That budget, that $70 million that I just showed you, which is $13 million more than what was projected, is also going to increase. But I know you're out there. This is a call for people that have worked at home base, and I know you are out there because 2 years ago, the budget was $28 million, and now the budget is $1.8 million. So where the hell did all of those employees go, and why are you not contacting me? If you worked at home base, you know something about home base, please, for the love of God, do the right thing. This is the right thing to do. You need to contact me. And we need to have a conversation about what happened at home base or what is going to happen, because I think that both the budget for emergency shelters and simultaneously the budget for home base is going to continue to expand. Because again, home base does not have a cap, at least I don't believe it does, on the amount of people that it could service. The emergency shelter does. But the emergency shelter is basically recycling people now. So I think that will get filled up. And if you displace all of the illegal immigrants that are in emergency shelters and that gets filled up by the citizens of this state, you're still going to have the same exact problem. It's just not on the left hand, now it's on the right hand. But simultaneously, home base is now at the center of this problem, because home base is going to do one of two things. Number one is they are also taking money from the taxpayer. Number two, there is no cap on home base. That means there could be 5,000 plus people that are using this home base. And yes, it may be less money to the taxpayer versus the emergency shelter system. That's still going to get filled Let's say it's accounted for. But what's also happening is Homebase is taking units, rental units, off of the market. They're removing rental units off of the market. And people are getting priority treatment over the citizens of this state. And that does not sit right with me. So again, if you have worked at Homebase, I've said this probably a million times, and the only people that have reached out to me are people that either have applied to use the rental assistance from Homebase or they know somebody. But I have yet to have one person contact me that actually works there. And I know you're out there because your budget is completely depleted for wages and salaries, okay? I don't care what kind of NDA you signed. It does not matter to me. We could speak confidentially. You could be anonymous. It doesn't matter what it is, but I would like to speak with you. So that's it for today's video. Yes, I am upset. Yes, you should be upset as well. And this is where we're at. This is where we're at. They're not only doubling down, but they are tripling down on the problem. And God forbid if those 500 plus people that just tried to sign up to the emergency shelter system, if that ratio is not 75% citizens of Massachusetts and 25% illegal immigrants, we're just going through the motions again. That's all that this is. It's never going to end if you don't figure out a solution to the problem. You're basically putting a Band-Aid on a larger problem, but you need to address this at its root, okay? You need to address this at its root. You cannot be sticking Band-Aids on these problems. This is a massive problem. Over $1 billion could have went to help these struggling communities. Over $1 billion could have went to repair the bridges, the tunnels, the buildings that they're basically going to tear down and probably make apartments out of, okay? You have to think this through, guys, and you have to do the right thing. So please, somebody from Homebase, contact me. That's it for today's video, guys. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.